Hey, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, so... you know, thanks for not giving up on me.
Welcome back to Director's Choice. Disney has a knack for killing off the parents of our beloved protagonist. Take Princess Ariel, Princess Jasmine, and Cinderella, for example. All of these classic Disney protagonists have either lost one parent or even both. The same holds true for young Hiro Hamada from Big Hero 6. Except in this case, the young 13-year-old even loses his role model big brother Tadashi. Or does he? We see Tadashi double back into a massive fire to save his professor, right before the entire building explodes. But is there evidence that the young inventor actually died? Or can we gather up enough evidence to prove that Tadashi Hamada is in fact alive?
I'm not giving up on you. You don't understand this yet, but people need you. So let's get back to work.
First and foremost, no human remains were found after the explosion. Secondly, Tadashi was working closely with his mentor professor turned evil villain. And lastly, the Big Hero 6 comics set up a perfect story arc for a Big Hero 6 movie sequel that requires Tadashi to live through the explosion. Today, we will look a closer look into the theory that Tadashi Hamada is actually still alive. No human remains found at the explosion site. You know what they say about assumptions, right? Well, that's exactly the case for the authorities in Big Hero 6. With no physical evidence to prove it, the police of San Francisco declared Tadashi dead after the explosion. But where's the evidence? Remember that funeral scene? Let's take a closer look at those graves. They are so close together that there's no way full human bodies could be buried there. Which is why it is safe to say that Tadashi's body was never recovered from the site. The scene at first watch could be assumed to be a funeral scene. However, upon closer inspection, could also be interpreted as a memorial site instead of a graveyard. But how does this make sense? Think about it. Seconds after the explosion erupts, we can hear sirens in the background as Hiro looks at the flaming building in horror. So it's safe to say that the fire department was on its way in a speedy amount of time. There's no possible way, even in a fiery explosion, that Tadashi's body could have been cremated to ash. There simply was not enough time before the fire department arrived for his body to turn to unidentifiable soot. There's even a news clip pronouncing the student dead, along with his professor Robert Callahan. But neither body was actually found. However, authorities never found Callahan's body because the professor is in fact still alive, working under his supervillain alias Yokai. So why then is it so hard to believe that Tadashi could still be alive as well? On top of that, the building was full of technologically advanced inventions, any number of which could have saved Tadashi's life, including Hiro's microbots that we find out later in the movie Yokai Callahan steals and uses against him. Those microbots very well could have been banded together to protect Tadashi against the fiery blast, just like they did for Callahan. Speaking of inventions, arguably one of Tadashi's greatest inventions, Baymax, also plays a role in this theory.
Hello, I am Baymax, your personal healthcare companion.
As a robot with over 10,000 personal healthcare responses, it seems weird that he somehow doesn't register death, right? We see him repeat the words, "Tadashi is here," to Hiro over and over again.
Tadashi is here.
No, he's not here.
Tadashi is here.
This is Tadashi Hamada.
We assume that it's a coping mechanism to help Hiro accept his brother's death. But what if it's more literal than that? Think about it. Baymax is a robot with no human emotion. So how could he possibly understand metaphors and euphemisms about afterlife? With that being said, what if Baymax is trying to tell Hiro that his brother is here because he's actually literally still here on Earth? Tadashi is secretly working with Callahan. Now, if Tadashi is alive and well, we can safely guess that he faked his own death. But why? Why would he put his family through such heartache? We have a couple theories to consider. The first is that Tadashi is working closely with Callahan.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay, but Professor Callahan's still in there.
We know that Tadashi was considered Callahan's prodigy, sharing his values that science should be used to further humankind and not to be used for personal gain. However, what if Callahan faked Tadashi's death in order to use him as a sidekick under the radar? Tadashi is incredibly smart and talented beyond belief, so it would make sense that Callahan would want to use that intellect and technological talent to enact his revenge on his enemy, Alistair Cray. With that being said, if Callahan had Tadashi in his back pocket, that means he also had easy access to Hiro, another family genius and the inventor of the highly sought-after microbots. Callahan gives Hiro a college acceptance letter to nerd school and into his robotics program after Hiro impresses Callahan with his microbots.
I look forward to seeing you in class.
We all know how college acceptance works, and it's not that easy. As a highly respected professor of the college, it would make sense that Callahan has some pull when it comes to acceptances to the college. So what if Callahan and Tadashi held onto Hiro's college acceptance letter until after he presented his microbots? That way they could distract the public and fake their deaths with a fiery explosion. While slipping out the back door with Hiro's invention, Hiro gets into college, which is something we can safely assume Tadashi would hope for. But Callahan and Tadashi still win by getting what they want in order to carry out their plans for revenge. Except Tadashi wouldn't have been in on the plans for revenge. He would have wanted to protect his younger brother and ensure his safety and potential success within their anti-hero group.
You okay?
Yeah.
Are you hurt?
No.
Then what were you thinking, you knucklehead?
After all, who else would have switched on the television to reveal a clip that will lead the team to discover Yokai's true identity? Based on his reaction, it certainly wasn't Callahan.
Cray's the guy in the mask.
Oh no.
Tadashi will become Sunfire. Another theory that supports that Tadashi is still alive is the speculation that he could become another character from the Big Hero 6 comics, Sunfire. Originally brainwashed by an enemy to fight against justice, Sunfire is actually an enemy of Big Hero 6. But after being saved by Hiro, he becomes the next member of the crime-fighting superhero team. Sounds like a great storyline for Disney's next movie, right? Older brother comes back from the dead only to become a supervillain that fights against younger brother's superhero team but is ultimately cleansed of all evil tendencies, turned good, and joins the crime-fighting superhero group. Sounds like Disney to me. Big Hero 6 is also part of the Marvel Universe, drawing in characters that have their own comics and storylines, like Wolverine and the X-Men. This storyline would benefit Disney's collaboration with Marvel Studios and would draw in viewers from both fandoms. Oh, and what are Sunfire's superpowers, you ask? Only just the ability to absorb heat and convert it into plasma to shoot at people? How could Tadashi have obtained said superpowers? Maybe in the explosion we once thought killed him. I'm not saying it's a perfect setup for the Big Hero 6 sequel, but come on, how can you argue with that? Whether you believe Tadashi is alive or not, you can't argue that his re-emergence would be one heck of a comeback. From having no physical evidence from the fire to the incredible new superhero that could emerge from his survival, Tadashi is putting up a major fight to stay alive in the minds and hearts of fans and giving Disney the perfect opportunity to make a fantastic sequel. Let's just hope Callahan and Yokai stay behind bars and leave the super villainy stuff to Tadashi as Sunfire. Take a look at this other recent clip by Director's Choice, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified with our latest videos.